Good morning, dear students. We are going to discuss the seventh cranial nerve, that is facial nerve. So if from this picture, I hope you are able to recollect, like we have seen these terminal branches of facial nerve when we were doing face lecture. So because these terminal branches of facial nerve are actually supplying the muscles of facial expression, right? So that just to make it catchy, I kept this slide. So if this question comes as an essay, you should be able to write something. Yeah, I know this answer. Okay. So the facial nerve nucleus, suppose if you just look at this picture, this is actually the picture of brainstem where we are finding midbrain, pons and medulla oblongata. So in the pons, if you observe, we have special nuclei, which are nothing but the collections of the cell bodies of the neurons. So the three nuclei we have are special visceral afferent, which is called as nucleus solitarius. Okay. So that is, this is the solitarius nucleus which receives taste from the anterior 2/3 of the tongue. Then we have special visceral efferent motor nucleus of the facial nerve. So this nucleus efferent in the sense it is motor, right? So that means it is supplying the muscles of face, posterior belly of digastric, stylohyoid, platysma, stapedius and occipitofrontalis. Okay. Now, if you observe, these are the muscles which are supplied by the second pharyngeal arch nerve, that is the facial nerve. Okay, so this is the special visceral efferent motor nucleus. Then we have general visceral efferent, so that is the superior salivatory nucleus sends preganglionic parasympathetic fibers to sublingual, submandibular, lacrimal, nasal and palatine glands. Okay, so that is the superior salivatory nucleus. Okay, this is the superior salivatory nucleus. So this is the like various nuclei what you can see here. Okay, first nucleus is this. The nucleus number 1 is this special visceral afferent, that is the nucleus solitarius number 1, and number 2 is the special visceral efferent motor nucleus of the facial nerve, and number 3 is this, that is the superior like salivatory nucleus which is sending preganglionic parasympathetic secretory fibers to sublingual, submandibular, lacrimal, nasal and palatine glands. Okay, so these are the nuclei which are situated in pons. Okay, and this nucleus, that is the special visceral afferent nucleus, that is the solitary tract nucleus, is actually situated not only in pons, you can see here it is also situated in medulla oblongata. Okay, then the seventh cranial nerve is actually the nerve of second pharyngeal arch or second branchial arch. So we have the components like special visceral efferent, general visceral efferent, general visceral afferent, special visceral afferent, general somatic afferent. Okay, the nuclei are situated in the pons, like we have motor nucleus, superior salivatory nucleus, lacrimatory nucleus and nucleus of tractus solitarius. These are the nuclei what we have seen. The course of facial nerve, you can see it is, see this is whole thing is pons, and this side we will have the cerebellum, and this junction is actually called as cerebellopontine angle. So it is emerging from the cerebellopontine angle by two roots. So we have one medial root which contains motor fibers. We have lateral root which is nervus intermedius which contains parasympathetic and taste fibers. If you just observe, this is the like base of the brain which you are seeing from the inferior view. So in the inferior view, you can see these are the cerebral hemispheres. This area is midbrain, this is pons, and this is medulla oblongata. This is cerebellum. Now when you just look at the pons, we are finding this is the facial nerve. Okay, two colors have been used for our better understanding. So we have like one is the main nerve which is the motor root, then we have parasympathetic root here which is seen, okay, medial and lateral. The lateral one is nervus intermedius. Okay, and you can see this is the pons and this is cerebellum, and this angle is cerebellopontine angle. cerebellopontine angle. Okay, so we know like seventh cranial nerve is the nerve of the second pharyngeal arch, which is carrying taste sensation from the anterior 2/3 of the tongue and also from the palate. It supplies secretomotor fibers to the submandibular and sublingual salivary glands. Okay. So that's the reason you are finding like from the other picture, I hope you clearly understood, like it has medial motor root and lateral nervous intermediates, right? Now the course of facial nerve, so once it is emerging from the pons and cerebellopontine angle area, you can see it passes through internal acoustic meatus or internal auditory meatus, which we see in the cranial fossa. Okay, so which is actually related to the internal ear where it is running in the facial canal. So this area is actually facial canal. Then we know like when we have studied the base of the skull, we know like we have a foramen called as stylomastoid foramen situated between the styloid process and the mastoid process. So the facial nerve is actually emerging from the stylomastoid foramen. Once it comes out through the stylomastoid foramen, we know it is entering into the parotid gland, and then from the anterior border of the parotid gland, we will see the terminal branches, right? Okay. Now this whole course, what we see related from the internal acoustic, and it is all related to the middle ear. So this is the facial canal. So in the facial canal, it gives greater petrosal nerve which carries preganglionic parasympathetic fibers to lacrimal, nasal and palatine glands. I'll show you another picture also. We have cauda tympani which carries preganglionic parasympathetic fibers to submandibular and sublingual glands. Taste fibers from anterior 2/3 of the tongue, that is cauda tympani, is like for special taste sensation, isn't it? Then nerve to stapedius controls the amplitude of sound waves from the external environment to the inner ear. Then we have a bend over here which is actually called as geniculate ganglion, which contains the cell bodies of neurons. Its fibers carrying taste sensation from anterior 2/3 of the tongue ending in the solitary nucleus in medulla oblongata. So this geniculate ganglion is actually lying in the internal acoustic meatus. Now these are the terminal branches of the facial nerve which we have seen emerging from the anterior border of parotid gland. Just as it emerges from the stylomastoid foramen, it gives posterior auricular branch to occipitofrontalis muscle, muscular branches to posterior belly of digastric and stylohyoid. Inside parotid gland, it gives terminal motor branches which are temporal, zygomatic, buccal, mandibular and cervical, which go along the anterior border of the parotid to supply the muscles of facial expression. And we know like motor nerve of the face is facial nerve. Now this is the summary picture of this whole nerve you are finding. This area, this is actually midbrain, this is pons and this is medulla oblongata. Together we call it as brain stem. So now within this brain stem, you can see we have lacrimatory nucleus, we have superior salivatory nucleus, we have motor nucleus, we have nucleus of tractus solitarius. Okay. So these are the nuclei which are actually concerned. Apart from this, we have the spinal nucleus of the fifth cranial nerve, that is trigeminal nerve. So you can see the nerves like we have general, special, visceral, afferent, all these nerves are actually emerging from these various roots which we have just discussed here in our first slide, right? So special, visceral, afferent, special, visceral, efferent, general, visceral, efferent. So like that you can see these cranial like nerve nuclei are giving the various roots. And I told you inside the internal acoustic meatus we have a bend which is actually called as geniculate ganglion. So from the geniculate ganglion you can see there is one greater petrosal nerve, okay, which is going and joining the pterygopalatine ganglion. The pterygopalatine ganglion has been taken as a separate lecture. Submandibular ganglion also, like in the ganglions class, this was taught for you. Kindly revise it once. So the greater petrosal nerve are actually preganglionic fibers which are actually relaying in the pterygopalatine ganglion. The postganglionic fibers will go and supply the lacrimal gland. Okay. Then now you from the geniculate ganglion, you can see the further nerves, like from the superior salivatory nucleus, the nerve is actually continuing as cauda tympani. Like you can see, actually cauda tympani is from the superior salivatory nucleus, which is going actually collecting the special taste sensation from the anterior 2/3 of the tongue. Okay. Then so the other nerves, you can see they are supplying the other branches like submandibular and sublingual salivary glands. Okay. Then you are finding the nerve roots coming from the motor nucleus. It is coming out through the stylomastoid foramen. It is also, you can see from the stylomastoid foramen, we can also see the spinal nerve of the fifth cranial nerve, that is the trigeminal nerve, which is also coming out through the stylomastoid foramen, supplying the external ear. The one which is the motor nerve nucleus of facial nerve, which comes out through the stylomastoid foramen, it is giving posterior auricular branch. Then it is going and supplying the stylohyoid muscle and posterior belly of digastric. Okay. Then the anterior division, we know it is piercing the parotid gland, pes anserinus word, if you remember. Okay. So you can see it is actually entering through the anterior border, and then you are finding it is dividing into temporal, zygomatic, buccal, mandibular and cervical branches, right? And these are the branches which are actually supplying the muscles of facial expression. Okay, suppose if this nerve is damaged, what happens? So it leads to a condition which is called as Bell's palsy. Damage of the facial nerve results in paralysis of muscles of facial expression, because muscles of facial expression are supplied by the facial nerve. Okay, so this is lower motor neuron type of lesion where whole face is affected. Okay, so generally in upper motor neuron lesion, the upper part of the face will be intact. So here in case of Bell's palsy, the face is distorted, drooping of lower eyelid, then sagging of the angle of the mouth, dribbling of saliva, loss of facial expression, loss of chewing, loss of blowing, sucking, unable to show teeth or close the eye on that particular side. Okay, so these are the like clinical features we see with Bell's palsy. Okay, so in the summary is the nuclei of facial nerve are found in pons. They are of special visceral afferent and efferent types, as well as general visceral efferent type. The facial nerve emerges from the cerebellopontine angle, gives motor fibers to the muscles of facial expression, secretor motor fibers to submandibular, sublingual, lacrimal, nasal and palatine glands, and receives taste fibers from the anterior 2/3 of the tongue. Okay. Then the course and relations, just to summarize, the facial nerve is attached to the brainstem by two roots, right? One is the motor root and the sensory root. The sensory root is also called as nervus intermedius. The two roots run laterally and forwards within the eighth nerve to reach internal acoustic meatus. In the meatus, the motor root lies in a groove on the eighth nerve. Sensory root is in between them. At the bottom are the fundus of the internal acoustic meatus. The two roots, sensory and motor, fuse to form a single trunk which lies in the petrous part of the temporal bone. So within the canal, the course of nerve can be divided into three parts by two bends, the first, second and third part. The facial nerve lifts the skull by passing through stylomastoid foramen. In its extracranial course, the facial nerve crosses the lateral side of the base of the styloid process. It enters the posterior-medial surface of the parotid gland. Behind the neck of the mandible, it divides into its 5 terminal branches, which emerge along the anterior border of parotid gland. Whatever I have shown you in the form of diagram is texted here. So within the facial canal, which we have seen within the petrous part of the temporal bone, we will see we have greater petrosal nerve, which was joining the pterygopalatine ganglion, supplying the lacrimal gland. We have nerve to stapedius, which will be dampening the loud sounds. Cauda tympani, which is collecting the taste sensations from the special taste sensation from the anterior 2/3 of the tongue, right? At its exit from the stylomastoid foramen, we have seen posterior auricular nerve, digastric, that is supplying the posterior belly of digastric and stylohyoid. Terminal branches, like we have seen with the help of fingers, that is temporal, zygomatic, buccal, marginal mandibular and cervical, which are supplying the muscles of facial expression. Then communicating branches with adjacent cranial and spinal nerves, that is the greater petrosal nerve. Now, what are the various ganglia which we have seen associated with this? We will just go back to the picture. See this picture, we have seen one is geniculate ganglion. Next, we have pterygopalatine ganglion. The other ganglion is submandibular ganglion, right? So the geniculate ganglion is sensory ganglion. The taste fibers present in the nerve are peripheral processes of pseudo-unipolar neurons present in the geniculate ganglion. The submandibular ganglion is parasympathetic ganglion for relay of secretomotor fibers to submandibular and sublingual glands. Pterygopalatine ganglion is also a parasympathetic ganglion. Secretomotor fibers are meant for the lacrimal gland, relay in this ganglion. Okay, so structures in the left internal acoustic meatus, you can see the motor root, you can see the nervus intermedius, and then you can see the 8th cranial nerve. Okay, so between the motor root and the 8th cranial nerve, we have nervus intermedius. Okay, then so you can see like this is the facial canal, how the facial nerve is emerging. It is running in the petrous part of the temporal bone, and this is the geniculate ganglion, which is situated in the internal acoustic meatus, and you can see its course in the middle ear. Okay, so where you can see it is going and supplying the nerve to stapedius. Okay, so this is the first part, which is the canal for facial nerve. Okay, this is first part which is turning laterally. Okay, then second part which is running backwards. Okay, like between the aeditus to mastoid, antrum and promontory. These words you will understand once we do ear, middle and internal ears. Okay, the third part is running downwards. So first part, second part, third part. A final exit is stylomastoid foramen. Okay. So this is one more picture which is actually helping us understand like the various nuclei which is present in the pons brainstem, right? So we have general special visceral afferent, and we have general visceral afferent coming from nucleus of tractus solitarius. We have lacrimatory and superior salivatory nucleus which carry general visceral efferent. Okay. So we have motor nucleus which carries the special visceral efferent, and spinal nucleus of trigeminal which is general somatic afferent. Okay, so like this is the greater petrosal nerve which is relaying in the pterygopalatine ganglion, right? So here we have the submandibular ganglion, and this is the geniculate ganglion. Actually, this picture is much better than, I want everybody to practice this picture, and once usually facial nerve comes as an essay question. So better practice this picture because all the ganglions and nerves are clearly represented here comparatively with this picture. Okay. So now see here. It's the same picture in fact. So tracing nerve supply of lacrimal gland, the greater petrosal nerve. Where did we see? This was our greater petrosal nerve. What is the name of this ganglion? Pterygopalatine ganglion. What is the name of this gland? Lacrimal gland. Which nerve is going? Lacrimal nerve, right? So like that you have to just make a flow chart. So greater petrosal nerve, like it continues like deep petrosal nerve to pterygoid canal. Here we have the pterygopalatine ganglion where it relays the postganglionic fibers coming from the pterygopalatine ganglion for lacrimal gland join zygomatic nerve, pass through communicating branch, lacrimal nerve and lacrimal gland. So Bell's palsy. Sudden paralysis of facial nerve at stylomastoid foramen results in asymmetry of corner of mouth, inability to close the eye, disappearance of nasolabial fold, and loss of wrinkling of skin of forehead on the same side. So facial nerve can be injured at any level during its course. Actually, I have shown you the figure also. Now, lower motor neuron paralysis of facial nerve causes paralysis of ipsilateral half, that is the same half of the face, both upper quadrant and lower quadrant of the same side as the injury. Okay. So in case if this facial nerve is damaged just below the level of geniculate ganglion, so what will happen? So above the geniculate ganglion, all these like clinical conditions are there. Loss of lacrimation, that means no tears are produced, and sounds appear very loud because stapedial reflex is lost, because nerve to stapedius is damaged, loss of taste from anterior 2/3 of the tongue, that means cauda tympani nerve is damaged, lack of salivation, and paralysis of the muscles of facial expression. So these are the clinical symptoms which we usually encounter with Bell's palsy. Okay. Actually, this is a summary chart of all the ganglion. Actually, one of the ganglion usually will be asked, right? You have studied all these ganglion as a separate lecture. Ciliary ganglion, otic ganglion, pterygopalatine, and submandibular ganglion. You can just take a screenshot of it and patiently you can read like ciliary ganglion, each ganglion, ciliary ganglion with orbit, otic ganglion with parotid gland, pterygopalatine ganglion we have just studied when we were doing like the lacrimal apparatus. Then submandibular gland we are going to study with tongue also. So each ganglion will have sensory root, sympathetic root, secretomotor, parasympathetic root, okay, motor root, and the distribution. Okay. So usually any of these ganglion can come as either 3 marks or 5 marks question. So this table will help you to just make it very simple, draw one diagram and write about that particular ganglion. Okay. So in a horizontal fashion, the ganglions have been described. Okay.